Dump It.
The dip is here, guys. So we're going to take a look at what's happening on the market today. There's definitely a lot of blood on the streets. We're also going to take a look at what's happening on the news. Sequoia is suing Binance. We got some crazy stuff happening on Ethereum and even some contracts being exposed to have flaws in them. And finally, we're going to look at some FUD news as well coming from the CEO of PayPal, and I found it to be absolute horseshit. So all this and more on today's Box Mining Daily. Everything covered here is my personal opinion and not financial advice. So let's start off with the markets. So for the past week or so, we've been having an amazing run. It was going up and up every day, and we didn't even have a weekend dip. Today, finally, the markets took a little bit of a plunge today. Bitcoin dropped 5%. It's the one that's holding up the most, ironically, and everything else like Ethereum, Ripple, Bitcoin Cash dropping double digits. EOS is still standing still. So there are still some coins that are standing still. I was looking at something crazy like Decred is still going up 8%, so it doesn't affect the whole market overall, but there is overall a minor dip today. So everyone's asking why the dip? Well, it might be for two reasons. One is just because the markets themselves were correcting to a major growth over the past few weeks, and then there's also some FUD news coming out, one of them being Sequoia Capital. So Sequoia Capital is suing Binance. Sequoia was initially planning to invest in Binance, but after the deal fell through, Binance took investment money from IDG Capital, and now Sequoia is claiming, you know what, you were in breach of contract, you were looking for other partners. So it's a case where Binance is the hottest chick on the block, and then there was a case where people were fighting over Binance, and now it seems like Sequoia Capital is a little bit salty in this situation. The case might be settled through arbitration, so that's outside of the court, and CZ Zhao Shanpeng was told not to talk to us about this. So we just have to see what's going to happen next. We also have some FUD coming out of the Ethereum front. So there's two bits of news. One is that there is a risk that Ethereum might be splitting in half. This is over Ethereum Improvement Protocol 999. So what's in this protocol? Why is it so controversial? Well, Ethereum Improvement Protocols are meant to improve Ethereum. So they're meant to be proposals put forth by developers, they make the code, and then if it's successful, if the community votes on it, it gets merged and deployed on active Ethereum. But the problem with this EIP 999 is that it deals with how to fix trapped funds. So this is the famous Parity blow up that happened last year. So last year what happened was that there was a bug in Parity's code in one of the safest wallets. It was meant to be so safe that they had a self-destruct button, and if someone pressed that button, it will blow up and will freeze these funds forever. So some random programmer did click that button and trapped and locked these funds frozen forever, for no one else can touch it. The people who were affected are the people who are using multi-signature wallets, and those are mostly to do with funds. So a lot of big Ethereum funds were affected, and maybe some ICOs as well. Right now, the Ethereum Protocol 999 is an attempt to remedy this. So by changing the whole network, by applying this improvement protocol there, they can unfreeze the funds and free it for those people, so for the affected people. But of course, this has a dispute on both sides. There are hardcore coders that believe that code is law, that because the bug there was written, it was deployed, that contract was launched, then that should be held in place. There was a self-destruct button there, someone pressed it, and that should have been the way the story goes. There's another part where they said, you know what, that was unintentional. People shouldn't be able to take over that contract and press that self-destruct button. Well, let's reverse it and restore these funds back to the rightful owners. The vote for EIP 999 has ended yesterday, and the majority of the votes were no. So 55% were no, 39% were yes, and 5% just didn't care. But there might still be some dispute in the future whether or not to deploy EIP 999. And if it does, how will the community react? This is the biggest question right now. If the community reacts negatively and the community splits, then there might be two Ethereum. So that's the Ethereum FUD that's happening. there's a new bug that's been discovered in ERC20 contracts. So, the ERC20 tokens are such things as the basic attention token, even EOS. They're ERC20 tokens living on Ethereum, and they have their own set contract, and developers can add their own contract. So it turns out to be the case that there is a new bug discovered in ERC20 contracts that affects potentially up to 20 or so tokens. This hack allows a hacker to create a large amount of tokens almost for free by abusing this idea of a buffer underflow.
Don Pitaga.
Unfortunately, a hacker managed to create a very large number of beauty chain tokens, send that to exchange. Luckily, the exchanges caught it in time and blocked it from being transferred. But yet again, this is a case where it's up to the programmer to make sure that the code is clean. It's not hard to program for Ethereum. It's not hard to make a working contract, but to make a contract secure. And the problem is you can't fix the contract after it's been deployed. So now you can't issue a bug fix, unlike on your phone or whatnot, where you constantly receive updates to fix problems. With Ethereum, with every single blockchain out there, programming is hard because of the way it's designed. Because once you upload code, it becomes locked in and you can't change it. That's the difficulty. It's not understanding language. Solidity is a very easy to understand language, but this has to do with the workings of the way once something is deployed, you can't change it. It's like hardware. So in this case, is code law? My view is that code should obey humans. Humans, they are an expression of human intent. We should have a little bit of a wiggle room for bugs that are crazy as this. Whilst these points are valid points of arguments, there's definitely stupid FUD out there. For example, Bill Harris, one of the CEO of PayPal, came out to say that Bitcoin is the greatest scam in history. He made a massive article detailing all the negative things about cryptocurrency, and I just want to say this is complete horse crap. It is absolute horse shit. He pointed out that Bitcoin isn't a pseudo means of payment because Bitcoin has price swings, but that's also true with every currency. And right now we're still at the early beginning stages. One thing I think he forgot to point out with means of payment and store value is that Bitcoin, you can have absolute control of your currency. Like, this is something that's not PayPal can't even offer right now. PayPal is a centralized system. If they want to freeze your account at any time, they can do so. And they can do so without reason too. If their bots or their algorithm finds something, maybe you just don't look right, maybe you have a name that looks like suspiciously similar to another, maybe not so well-behaved person, well, they would just ban that account straight off. And in fact, they can implement new fees and new regulations. And if you're addicted, if you are using PayPal as your centralized form of payment, if you completely trust it, then you're at liberty to whatever they want to do. And Bitcoin, honestly, and the whole cryptocurrency community, this provides a big alternative. We possess our funds. The funds are on the blockchain and we have absolute control of it, and no one can take that private key away from us. And another crazy thing about this is he brought out the criminal activity argument again, which has been proven false. We have seen legit scientists come out to say, you know what, this whole myth of illicit Bitcoin use, that's absolute bogus. And saying something like 10% of Bitcoins is used for illicit activity, that's just absolute horseshit. Honestly, Bill Harris should know better. And you can see that contrast with Peter Thiel, because Peter Thiel is also a PayPal founder, and he really jumped ship and said, you know what, Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies is going to be the equivalent of online gold, and he is very pro cryptocurrency. So we definitely have a contrasting view here, but it's very important to just stay level-headed and know that right now the markets can be extremely volatile. That's the way it is. It's a new form of technology. It's a new way of storing data, and there's so many different applications of that. In fact, I'm interviewing Zebi soon, and they're applying blockchain technology to solve land registry issues and preventing data tampering. I also have my friend Danilo. He just left a really nice paying job at YouTube to go work on cryptocurrencies full time. There is a drain in talent, and smart people are moving towards cryptocurrencies and not away from it.